Hello everyone, it's Vivi and welcome back to some Melody of Memory. So to our surprise, Square Enix released the final trailer for this game one day after Nintendo Direct Mini shared their own trailer. Now what's funny about this, Tetsuya Nomura on the 26th, when Nintendo Direct shared their own trailer, on that day Nomura said to expect a final trailer within the next couple of days. Well, come to think of it, I think he meant the next couple of hours? Nomura, you are quite a sly fox, aren't you? You're always full of surprises. Boom, just like that we get the final trailer. Now the English dub trailer doesn't say final in the title, but the official tweet from Nomura says it is in fact the final trailer he was talking about. Now the trailer starts with Kairi saying what happened with Xehanort at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, how he gave up the Keyblade and Kingdom Hearts got sealed away. But Kairi feels like it's far from over. And then we dive into the meat of the trailer, which is 95% gameplay. These rhythmic field games are part of the world map we have in Melody of Memory. Each length of gameplay is depicted by that bottom left gauge right there. That's the amount of time that's left for the music. Melody of Memory is basically a trip down memory lane. In this case, Sora's memories if we look at it from a lore perspective. Kairi's willingly put to sleep for a year, believing that her heart might hold a clue to Sora's whereabouts. Now in this case, we're dealing with Sora's memories, a trip down his memory lane, from a lore perspective. Okay, but how do we explain the different characters? Well, think about how hearts are connected in Kingdom Hearts, especially how people are connected to Sora's heart. Now looking at this gameplay, the button pressing does sync pretty well with the music playing, especially with the part that has 13th Struggle. Looking at the world map some more, we have the words cleared and complete, so what's the difference between the two? Well, seeing as how this game contains a museum section, which is basically a journal of the game, you have Story Archive. If we pay close attention to that, well, the word complete belongs to those cutscenes. In other words, a play style called Memory Dive, where you have a bunch of rhythmic tracks, but with a cutscene playing this time. So yeah, about playstyles, we got 3. I guess normal fighting through a horde of enemies, bosses with Maleficent for example, and, like I just said, Memory Dive, if I'm not mistaken. Now going back to the reveal trailer, the trailer called Kingdom Hearts 2020, you can notice play icons. However, in that trailer, everything is cleared. So I take it that was simply early footage, and instead of having cleared for both cutscenes and normal gameplay, we have 2 words now. Now you probably also noticed doubles. Example, 2 Twilight Towns, or even 2 Hollow Bastions. One seems to look like a cutscene sequence and the other, regular gameplay, call it. What I think is going on here, I take it it's a version of Twilight Town from a different game. For example, Twilight Town from Kingdom Hearts 2, from Chain of Memories, perhaps. Even the one from 358 Days Over 2. Now the world map also has what appears to be gummy ship missions. What the 2020 trailer showed us, well, Kingdom Hearts 2020 trailer, I mean, we have stars over those barriers. There's a tally at the bottom left, if we pay attention to the final trailer. I wonder what they're for, or what those missions even look like. Those barriers. Clicking on Twilight Town here, for example, we have missions that come along with it. 2 pages worth of missions. If you clear everything, you win a certain item. And looking at this Twilight Town, there's 2 tracks we have to complete. Now before entering this world, we have Sora, Donald, Goofy. Notice how you can scroll to the left and right, back and forth. Perhaps we can switch to the Sea Salt Trio, Axel, Xion, and Roxas. There's also level 4 stated at the bottom. How do we level up? I wonder about that one. I take it you level up as you progress. You build up your level as you continue playing the game. You can also synthesize items and songs. As for potions, they seem to be automatically set, as in if your HP falls below 40, it automatically recovers your HP. I mean, you gotta think about it, how do we actually manually use potions and all? We also have what seems to be the collector cards we have in the museum. We have Jukebox. As you progress through the game, you can unlock tracks you can listen to afterwards. You can choose from a cast of playable characters from the Kingdom Hearts series. We have a segment with Roxas, for example. Another one would be Aqua. And speaking of different characters and all, this is what the Square Enix store states. Experience the music of Kingdom Hearts like never before. Melody of Memory features 20 plus characters, 140 plus music tracks, and online versus multiplayer mode. Explore the music and memories from the Kingdom Hearts series. Yup, both local co-op and online multiplayer will be part of Melody of Memory. As for Nintendo Switch players, you'll also have access to those modes, but you guys will get an extra exclusive free-for-all mode that goes up to 8 players. Battle mode seems to have an extra feature, such as a trick meter that lasts a limited time only. There's even a meter at the bottom center between 2 players, which tells you who's got the lead. I believe it looks to be that way. However, the other player appears to be off-screen when playing multiplayer, for example. Where's Mickey, right? The trailer ends with a scene of Ansem the Wise in Radiant Garden. We now hear what Kairi was saying in the previous trailer showcased during the Nintendo Direct Mini. She said, maybe Mickey or Master Yen Sid know. This is after Ansem the Wise believes that such mysteries are beyond comprehension. These mysteries could have to do with Sora missing. Riku walks in wondering if there's any news or updates. Kairi looks, I don't know, distressed? As if she doesn't want Riku to be here, or maybe she's just surprised that he's here. After all, Riku and Kairi eventually find themselves at the final world if we go back to the Kingdom Hearts 2020 trailer. Both of these guys will be put to sleep eventually. I mean, how do they end up in the final world? That's how they get there, I assume. Sleep and dreams are connected, so is the final world. Like Charity told Sora in Cage 3, sleep and death touch. They cross over occasionally. Perhaps after 1 year of Kairi being asleep, she eventually wakes up and wonders who that black robe figure is, who she probably fought. I don't want to get your hopes up and say there's gameplay like that in Melody of Memory. It's probably all going to be cutscene. But maybe that's what she's referring to when talking to Ansem the Wise, and it's something he doesn't understand. Like he has no idea who she's talking about. Maybe that's why she tried involving Mickey and Yen Sid. Now looking at the last shot of the trailer, or shots to be precise, we have young Kairi who's inside the Ark. A machine that sends people to different time periods, hold up, at least, is capable of doing so in its incomplete state if we go back to some cutscenes with Maleficent and Darkness in Union Cross. Looking at the case with Maleficent, she went back to Kingdom Hearts 2 because the machine was incomplete. She didn't travel to a different world, she traveled through space and time because the machine was incomplete. Goldpanner's translation from the Japanese version mentions ocean between instead of world. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to stick to the North American official translation. The machine's purpose is to send someone to a different world, not time. Now, I know I just said we should stick to the North American translation, but instead of the Ark, they call it a lifeboat. I find it funny, I don't know, I just prefer the word Ark. I think I'm just gonna stick to that, despite what I just said. But yeah, I just find it weird. Lifeboat? Anywho, the point is, this Ark, or lifeboat, whichever you prefer, it at least is capable of sending someone to the future when it's incomplete. Now, since this machine was incomplete, your body wouldn't survive the trip, only a heart. That's basically what allowed you to slip through the cracks of time and space. Now, as to return as a whole, you know your body and yourself, you need a catalyst or a medium depending on which translations you prefer. So what I'm thinking is her medium or catalyst is her Raven. And once you do have that medium, you need people or someone that remembers you. The fairies in Kingdom Hearts 2 came in very handy for Maleficent. The question is, did this machine allow at least Ventus, Elrena, the human version of Larxene, and Skald, who I believe is Girl X or Subject X? Are we to believe they traveled to the Birth by Sleep era? Well, previous to Birth by Sleep, but you understand what I mean. Did they travel there by using this machine? If so, did it get completed or was it still incomplete? Who would complete it? And if it was completed, the machine's purpose is to send someone to a different world. But if it was incomplete, that means they all traveled to previous to, you know, Birth by Sleep as hearts. If that did happen, how did they retrieve their bodies? Because no one remembered them in the future, so how did they return? It's not a Kingdom Hearts game if you don't ask yourself questions. so I'm gonna leave it at that. Also, are we supposed to believe that this machine survived hundreds of years until it was discovered in Radiant Garden? It could be likely, but then I'm like, okay, maybe knowledge of the machine was passed down, and another one was built in its image, within the basement of Ansem the Wise, which we also actually saw in the end of the world in Kingdom Hearts 1. Whatever the case is, Ansem, Terra Xehanort if you want to call it, the period where he knew that he was Xehanort, well, during that time period, he sent Kairi to the outside world, believing that the Princess of Heart would find a key bearer. This is what Report 11 states from Kingdom Hearts 1. If the princesses and the Keyblade are connected, they should resonate. I've chosen a girl. I don't know if she holds the princess's powers, but I will find out. She may lead me to the key bearer. I shall set her free and observe. If this machine was lying within Ansem the Wise's lab in his basement, then Ansem the Wise also used it, no? There's this scene in Kingdom Hearts 3 where Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, tells Ansem the Wise that he sacrificed children in the name of his research. What did Ansem the Wise do? He basically studied darkness within the heart of people. But then at a point he realizes that his apprentices were performing these experiments behind his back in a complete inhumane way, so he decided to shut down the project completely. Basically, in the end, none of the apprentices and Xehanort, Terra Xehanort, wanted Ansem the Wise in the picture, so they cast him off to the Realm of Darkness. The idea is this scene right here with young Kairi in the machine. This was before Xehanort split himself into a Heartless and Nobody. This is when he sent off Kairi to the outside world, where she found herself in Destiny Islands. This shot with Sora, it's unlike him. He has this very dead look in his eyes. He's usually the guy who's always bouncing around and, emotion. But here he's completely out of it, doesn't say a word. He just stares at you as if Kairi is seeing a vision. Her being afraid that Sora did lose himself, hence why he looks this way. Some people might say, oh, this is probably the robe guy. Sora being the robe guy. Oh, is Sora the master of masters? A theory you've probably heard in the past, but I'm not too quick to jump on that theory, okay? So with that said, I'm gonna leave it at that. By the way, you can now pre-order Melody of Memory over on the Square Enix store, physically for Switch and PS4. You can pre-order it digitally on the eShop and the Microsoft store. As for PlayStation Store pre-orders, it's still not up. Also, here's another thing. The official cover art for the Kingdom Hearts 3 official soundtrack is this. For those who pre-order both Melody of Memory and the Kingdom Hearts 3 soundtrack, which is set to release worldwide on November 11th, well, you get a bonus which comes with 2 new compositions from Melody of Memory. Well, of course, this is for the Japanese region. We don't know what this means for North America. So yeah, I think I've said enough for this video, so as usual, do your stuff. If you have your own theories or questions, leave it all in the comments section below. And as always, I've been Vivi, and thank you so much for always tuning in. Until next time.